When there's beautiful music, when there's candles lit, and the scene is beautiful, sometimes that might make it easier to see the light of Christ, to see the light of God's love coming into the world in the birth of a child. But there are other places in life where I think God would love for Christ's light to be shining. Places where it might be harder to see. So I invite you now to go with me on a short trip around Boise to look for the light, to ask ourselves, can you see, can I see the light in these places? And then we'll come back here in a few minutes to talk a little about the scripture of the day and to ask ourselves, for me to ask myself, am I really looking for the light in the places of everyday life? Come with me. Welcome to one of our area schools in the community. Can you see the light here? Can you see grace and truth here? Can you see the light of grace here? Can you see grace and truth here? Can you see the light here? Can you see grace and truth here? Can you see the light here? Can you see grace and truth here? Can you see the light here? Can you see grace and truth here? How about here? Can you see the light here? Can you see grace and truth here? Can you see the light here? Can you see grace and truth here? Welcome back. Oh, it's much warmer in here. I'm very glad to be back here. So thank you for traveling with me to those places and asking with me, if we can see the light in those places, if we can see grace and truth in those places, as well as a place such as this. So I'm not going to read the whole scripture for the day. If you want to look it up on your own, it's John 1 to 14. I just want to read the last verse. And the Word became flesh and lived among us. And we have seen his glory, the glory as of a Father's only Son, full of grace and truth. Jesus was born into a place and in a setting, a situation that I would not have expected to see the light of God's love, or that God would send God's love into the world in such a humble place, born among the animals, because there was no room for Joseph and Mary, no room for Jesus. Well, after that humble beginning, Jesus continued to live among the people. He walked in the streets. He sat in people's homes. He met them by the well of the community. He met them at the seashore. Oh, he did meet them in synagogues and in beautiful places. But much of the time he met the people right where they were. That's where, if you were looking for Jesus, that's where you would find the light, not in beautiful church buildings with beautiful music. Not so much, but rather in the places where people lived. So now I wish on this Christmas day, or whenever you might be viewing this, to light the Christ candle, to remind us that the Word became flesh and lived among us. And I'm lighting it from the Advent candle of love, because I believe God sending Jesus into the world was really grounded deeply in God's love. The light of Christ is lit in this place. Now I would invite you to go with me one more time to return to those other places, as I wish to offer you an invitation in all the places of life to look for Christ's light. So if you might come with me one more time for just a minute or two, let's go back and explore those places. And then we'll come back here to close our time together. Come with me one more time, please. Returning to our area schools, let's look. Let's really look for the light here. And even as you and I look for grace and truth in this place, we bring the light of Christ here. Let's look. Let's really look for the light here. Even as we look for grace and truth in this place, we bring the light of Christ here. Let's look. Let's really look for the light here. Even as we look for grace and truth in this place, we bring the light of Christ here. Let's look for the light here. Even as we look for grace and truth in this place, we bring the light of Christ here. Let's look. Let's really look for the light here. Even as we look for grace and truth in this place, we bring the light of Christ here. Let's look for the light here. Let's really look for it. Even as we look for grace and truth in this place, we bring the light of Christ here. Let's look. Let's really look for the light here. Even as you and I look for grace and truth in this place, we bring the light of Christ here. Welcome back one more time. It's good to be back with you here, where the light still shines. So as we ponder Christ's birth today, and really every day of our lives, I've invited us all, including myself, to look for the light in the places of life where I believe Jesus wants to dwell with us, wants to abide with us every day, whether it be on the city streets, at the Capitol building, in a grocery store, in our workplaces, in the out of doors, in our homes. I believe that Jesus' heart for us, God's heart for us, is that the light of God's love would shine. As it says in the 5th verse of our reading for the day, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overtake it, did not overcome it. Sometimes it may seem in the places of everyday life that it is really hard to see the Christ light. It's really hard to see the light in the darkness. And so now today, on this day when we observe Christ's birth and remember his first coming into the world, I invite us all to look for the light, to really, really look for the light in all the places of your life and all the places of my life, that we might find grace and truth, that the light of Christ might burn more brightly wherever we may be. Now, as we close the meditation time, the candles will remain lit as the music plays for another minute or so if you just want to ponder, if there's stuff on your mind, or you're welcome just to click stop if you haven't done that already. Whatever you wish to do. Now may the blessings of Christ's birth be with us all, with everyone, wherever there is need in the world for the light of Christ to shine more brightly.